Welcome to SuperTalk, the podcast that scratches your superhero itch. Just two suburban dads nerding out over superhero stuff on the small screen and the big. Buckle up, people. Enjoy the ride. All right, Professor Like a Gentleman, you ready?
Let's do it.
Welcome to the spooky Halloween episode.
Ooh.
In 3.
Welcome to SuperTalk, the weekly podcast dedicated to news and reviews of comic book media on the big and small screen. This is your host, Brian Professor Pedersen, episode 127. And along with me is my illustrious co-host, the spooky Titanium Tony Estrella. Titanium.
Professor, I'm in my Homelander costume. I thought it was appropriate to dress up for the Halloween, but this thing's hot as shit, so I'm second guessing.
You're taking one for the team here this week, Titanium.
Absolutely. I'm in the spirit of Halloween, so happy Halloween, everybody. We got the Halloween episode here. And we got a few things to go over, so let's get into it, Professor.
Right. And before we get started, we want to thank the listeners that bring the show to you. Those are our patrons. Patreon.com/SuperTalk is how you become a member of the patronship of SuperTalk Podcast. If you'd like to donate to support the show directly, go to our page, Patreon.com/SuperTalk, to support us right there. All right, let's get into it this week, Titanium. We've got a couple of, look, you and I were talking before the show. Really good week this week. Couple good episodes to review and some stuff to talk about. But next week's going to be a banger.
Oh yeah, next week we got the season finale of GenV.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. Great show. We got Loki, another episode of Loki, and then we got the season 2 of Invincible.
Premiere of Invincible on Amazon Prime next week. Yeah, and then after that we have the whole next week to look forward to going to see the Marvels.
Yeah, we're gonna see it a little bit later in the weekend. We're not definitely gonna. Usually, we would go out and see the first run or the first viewing, but we got life is in the way, so we're gonna kind of work
plans
around
that weekend.
We got plans that weekend. Yeah, so we'll bang it out Sunday night and then get it up Monday or Tuesday.
So let's. You messaged me the other night after you had watched GenV, and you're like, oh my God, this show is just so awesome. You were just like, GenV, episode 7, off the hook.
I think my text was, Gen motherfucking V.
Well, there goes our parental rating.
We never had it.
Just jacked one up there.
We never had it.
But yeah, I mean, episode 7 was definitely, as we kind of talked about, episode 6 was really more of an episode designed to clear up any ambiguity about who was doing what was going on, who was in charge of everything. And this episode was really like the backlash of all that, right? This was, okay, now the Scooby Gang knows what's going on and who's in charge, right?
Scooby Gang, that's so great.
Yeah. They know who's in charge, they know who's doing everything, and now they want to hold these people accountable, right? And I think they've all, kind of come to some understanding between all of them. And they're all kind of working together to uncover this plot that the school has had them under for some time now. And we start the show with Marie and Jordan go to Dean Shetty's office. They break into her office because they want to find evidence of what's going on at the school. And they break in and they discover something incredibly important.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They find a folder that pretty much identifies her family dying in that plane that Homelander took down.
In season 1 of The Boys.
Yeah.
So that was Homelander and Queen Maeve go to this jet liner that's crashing over the Pacific Ocean or wherever it is, try to save everybody, and they get on the plane and they're like, yeah, this plane's going down. There's no way we're saving anybody. And Maeve was like, we could grab a couple of the kids or whatever and take them with us.
Can't be any witnesses.
And yeah, Homelander's like, yeah, can't be any witnesses.
Oh.
And remember, he threatens everybody on the plane. He's like, I'll cut all of you guys in half, and he's like yelling at them, and then he basically gets outside and shoots the plane down with his eye beams, and it crashes in the ocean.
Yeah.
And we find out that her husband and daughter were on that flight.
Right.
which gives an enormous amount of credibility behind what she's doing and why. Right. Lets us know that she has these ulterior motives about Soup, has feelings about Soup to begin with, but now has a motive to kind of get back at them.
Oh yeah,
and especially Homelander, she seems to have some for good reason, right?
The whole motive behind developing the virus, making it contagious, taking out Soups, and specifically Homelander. It was pretty good.
Yeah, and then while they're in the office, Dr. Cardosa stumbles in, half cocked. He's drunk. He's kind of just spouting off and kind of mumbling and exposes to that they're hiding under the desk while he's in there, and he takes a whiz inside of her decanter, which is they're going to pay that off at some point in time in the next episode, I'm sure. But he's basically claiming, he admits, while he's in this drunk, rambling state that this virus is a bad idea. Why did I ever agree with Shetty to make this thing? And so Jordan and Marie learn that there's a virus that's attacking Soups, and that they've genetically engineered this thing, and they're like, holy crap, we need to find somebody to tell.
Unbelievable. What a great twist. I think it really wrapped up their storyline and a lot of holes in their plot. This was a really good episode.
Well, and we find out what Shetty was going to do with the virus once she had it. She went to go see Colonel Mallory, who we know from the Boys TV show. That really is kind of like the person who's really helping Butcher and the Boys from the CIA side of things, right?
What's his name? Lantern? One of the Soups that died. Light Lantern? Lamplighter.
You were right there.
Yeah, I was almost there. Killed her grandchildren, and so she's got this vendetta herself. Same kind of character development than the Dean had. So
the Dean goes to her thinking that she's gonna
help her.
Yeah, she's like, hey, I've developed.
Spent most of her life trying to kill these people.
Right, I've developed this virus. It attacks Soups. It's not contagious to non-Soups, but we can wipe them all out. And she's like, I need your help, getting this into the right hands and then getting this out into the Soup population. And she's like, no. She's like,
this is genocide.
She's like, I'm not gonna work with you to commit genocide. This is
some good Soups.
Yeah.
And some bad ones. This is genocide. She won't help her.
Yeah. So she's now kind of at a loss of what to do next and where to go. But that was interesting to see Mallory kind of push back and say, look, even for me, this is a bit too much.
Yeah,
right. And then we see another interesting development. Andre's father, Polarity, has been tagged to host a talk show with Senator. What's the senator's name?
You're asking me?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
If I could read my notes, I'd be able to tell you. Newman, Senator Newman.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, so Senator Newman's coming on campus to give a speech, and it's going to be recorded on Vought TV. And, she's running for vice president. She's on the presidential ticket, so she's coming on campus to talk about superhuman rights and everything else. And the kids decide, this is a good opportunity for us to get this information about what's going on in the school and into the hands of somebody who can do something about it. But Andre's father was supposed to be the one doing the talk show. He ends up having a seizure on television, and his powers go out of control.
Right.
And Andre's in the ambulance with him going to the hospital, and like his dad's powers are like making the ambulance like cave in on itself and all this other stuff. And Andre's like doing everything he can to kind of counteract them, right? But something's going on with his dad. We're not really sure what or why, but it makes his powers kind of go out of control when that happens, right?
Unusual that he's having a seizure. That's
yes, yeah. But Marie and Jordan are like, okay, we've got information about this virus. We need to tell Victoria Newman. We need to get this into her hands. And they go to the amphitheater where the interview is going to be held. And there's a lot of Soup Lives Matter people.
Yeah.
And we see Sam had been hiding out in
Emma's dorm
room, and she's like, don't leave. And then he gets recruited by all the other Soups in the dorms to go, hey, we're going to go down to this thing. You'd love it. Come with us. Right. But they're in the arena there, and they're all like kind of making hay with Victoria Newman. It doesn't go well. The show ends early. Victoria Newman gets shuttered off the stage. Marie had Jordan cause a distraction outside, a fight between some of the other soups to get Marie in.
The whole Sam getting pulled into that. I mean, I understand he's been in captivity for a very long time and probably doesn't have the mental capacity to understand that even though they're acting like they're friends, they might have nefarious, kind of.
Well, they're college
emotions.
kids. Yeah.
So interesting.
But Marie ends up getting in there and meets Victoria Newman backstage, and Victoria Newman not only knows who she is, but she's like, "I'm glad we ran into each other. I've been looking forward to meeting you with you. Let's go talk."
Yeah.
And Marie's like, "Oh my God." And so they go back there and talk. We knew Victoria Newman was a soup.
Yeah.
We knew she was the one responsible for exploding all those heads, in season 2 of The Boys. And so we knew that was, what she was the one behind all of that. And so she's been secretly hiding out inside of a government position as a soup. We somewhat believe that she's working with Vought. I mean, she's kind of made it seem like Vought is put her in that position of power. So Marie thinks she has no idea she's a soup, but Victoria Newman says, "Hey, use your powers. I know you can use them, and look into me and see what you see." And she sees that there's compound V in her bloodstream. Yeah, she's like, "Oh my God,
you're a soup. Yeah,
you're a soup." And then Victoria Newman does something even better. She slices open her own hand and makes her blood kind of come out of her hand and go back in, just like Marie can.
Yep.
So we find out they had the exact same powers. And she's like, "You and I came from the exact same background. The exact same thing happened to both of us. We were in the same school. We came here to this universe." She's like, "We are the same people. We can learn from each other." And Marie tells her about the virus, and she's like, "I'm glad you told me. It's great information.
I'll take it from here."
I'll take it. And Marie's like, "No, we need to do something." She's like, "You have two choices. You can do something, and then you become a martyr, and then people don't like you and Vaught's against you and everything else, or you can garner power and authority within the school, become the number one candidate at the school, be the first black female on the 7, and then you have real power." Right. So she's trying to convince her to keep her mouth shut and let her do things, and you just kind of keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great.
Which is an insight to her big plan: become a political high-up figure,
the vice president.
Also,
you're going to have a friend in the White House,
which says,
right?
Interesting.
Yeah, so
really good.
Yeah, that was just a great revelation. I mean, we knew she was a soup, but to find out they had the exact same powers, and we know that, if she can explode heads, guess what Marie can do?
Absolutely. We know she can explode penises. We know she can blow up a penis.
Yes, we do.
We also know that she can detect things in people's bodies and pull them out, like tracking devices, and also detect compound V in somebody's blood.
Right.
It's getting good, man.
Well, and this gets back to who was it? Somebody was saying, Dr. Cardosa was like, "I want to get my hands on her. Her powers are incredible. She has no idea the level of her powers, right? And they were saying, she's probably one of the most powerful ones here, and she doesn't even realize it."
Yeah, and then the dean said, "No, she's got a benefactor. You can't touch her." Now we know who the benefactor is.
Right.
Is
Victoria Newman.
Yep.
Wow, interesting. All interesting stuff. And then the big end scene for this episode, Cardosa gets the virus. It's in a container, and he says, "All right, it doesn't live very long in normal temperatures, but if you keep it cold, you can make it survivable. So put it in refrigerated storage or whatever, you'll be fine." And Victoria Newman's like, "I'm glad you gave this to me. I'm glad you came forward. Is
this
great.
All of it? Is there any out there?
Is there anybody else that knows about this other than you? Can anybody else create this but you?" And he's like, No, I'm the only one." And she's like, "Fantastic." Gets in her car, pops his head.
Yeah, blows.
Big surprise.
Knew that was happening.
That was like the most.
We knew that was happening.
Most obvious thing was going to happen.
She made sure to get some answers out of him, like, this is it, right? There's no left. Nothing's going to leak or anything. No, that's it. That's the contained virus. Keep it cold, and no one else knows about this. I'm the only one, so that was great.
And the other big revelation was Cate had gone to Dean Shetty's house to confront her and kind of say, "Look, you've been leading me along. You've been using me. You pretend to care about me. You really don't." And there was a scene between the two of them where it seemed like Shetty had convinced her that she really did care about her.
Yeah.
And Cate was like, "Oh, you're telling the truth." But then the Scooby Gang shows up at the house, and Kate's got Shetty in the corner, and she's like, "We need to stop her. This has gone way too far. She's responsible for everything." Yeah. And she has Dean Shetty basically slit her own throat.
Yeah. After confessing the whole plan.
She says,
everything.
I ran the woods. We were. She's like, this entire university was built by Godolkin to study soups, not to help them.
Right.
Not to help and train them. It was 100% designed to study soups. Yeah. So we would bring kids here, we would study them, we would observe them, and we would find their weaknesses and understand how they work and everything. That's what it was for. Yeah. And she said the woods was just a way for us to
build the virus.
Or find out more, right? Yeah. And so she admitted to everything, and then Cate has her slit her own throat, prevents Marie from helping her, and lets her die. We're like, holy crap.
Yeah. You had a pretty good theory on this, but I think, explaining the whole their whole devious plan about Godolkin. So I don't know if that could be it, but you never know. I mean, this show has so many twists and turns. It's pretty good.
Lots of twists.
Tell what you think, Mike.
Well, I'm not really sure what you're leaning towards, but
Cate might have put them in her mind and made them see her slit her throat so that she wouldn't be a suspect to them anymore.
Well, and that's what seemed kind of weird about it to me. For them to go from one scene where she's sitting there with Cate, and it seems like she says to her, she's like, "I'm here to protect you. I love you. I've lost my family. You're the only thing close to a daughter I've ever had." Yeah. And it seemed like they had kind of come to an agreement.
Yeah.
And then
the next scene,
the next time we're at the house, Shetty's slitting her own throat. Yeah. And I think it's possible that was a projection that Cate put into their minds to make her
Cate
think.
Pushed. She said, "I need you to push one more time," and Cate pushed them so that they would think that she's dead, but she's not really.
Right. She really did, it was all hallucination, right? She put that thought into their mind so that they would think Shetty's dead, but she's really not.
Yeah, because, obviously she pushed her, Shetty, and she was pretty bloodied-eyed, and usually it takes a lot. So to be bloodied-eyed, maybe it is some kind of... Yeah,
it seems odd that you would go from that one scene to there was no explanation. If they would have had Cate said, "Okay, now tell me the truth," like after she had given her confession to her, holding on to her, said, "Okay, well now tell me the real truth," then you would have heard, then I could see where it goes to the next scene. Right. But for it to go from the scene of "You're the closest thing to a daughter I've ever had," and all this other stuff, and she's like, "I love you," and it seemed like they came to an agreement. Yeah. And Shetty was like, "I just need you to do one more thing," and then the next time you see him, she's slitting her own throat.
Yeah,
that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, that was a little.
My feeling is, I think Shetty knows she's exposed. The school's been exposed. The virus has been exposed, and all is lost. So the only way for her to continue to work is from people thinking that she's dead.
Right.
And now they all think she's dead.
Yeah.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's a great theory. I like it.
Well, and again, I think the finale next week's going to be a banger.
Next week. Let's go.
Yeah, and you've said this before, Titanium. This is going to lead directly into the next season of The Boys, right?
Yeah. And this will end with...
Are we going to see any more cameos next week, do you think, from The Boys?
I think absolutely, yeah.
Who do you think we might see?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Does, Homelander get called in because things at the school kind of get too crazy, or do they bring anybody from the Seven in to kind of help out, or
I think we see some vault
or
personnel.
Does Butcher show up?
Maybe this leads right into it, so who knows?
Yeah,
it's gonna be great. Yeah, we're gonna cover the shit out of it though.
Oh yeah, it'll be fun. So it's been great so far. Again, renewed for season 2. We're really happy for that. We love
favorite episode.
This episode? Yeah, other than the penis explosion episode, this is right there. Yeah.
This is my favorite episode. Absolutely.
It was great.
Actually, our next news item is also my favorite episode.
Oh, Loki.
Yeah.
So Loki episode 4. So and we had heard, so a lot of the non-SuperTalk podcast industry insiders had gotten a chance to see the first 4 episodes of Loki.
Yeah.
And every single one of them that got to preview those first 4 episodes all said episode 4 is
Huge
amazing and a huge cliffhanger.
Huge cliffhanger.
And good reason why they would only give them the first 4 episodes, because then
spoilers,
they're
by
all
the way, people. We're obviously spoilers.
They're all hanging on the cliff now. Waiting for episode 5. But yeah, this episode was the best Loki episode so far as well.
Yeah.
So at the end of the last episode, Victor Timely had been sent to the TVA by Mobius and Loki, and Renslayer and Miss Minutes had been sent to the end of time where He Who Remains had been killed. So the episode starts there, and Miss Minutes shows Renslayer what she thought, I got to show you something, and you're not going to be happy.
Yeah.
And she basically showed her that she had helped the He Who Remains win the multiverse war, and had been heavily responsible for helping. And she goes back to the TVA, and He Who Remains tells Miss Minutes, okay, execute Order 65 or whatever it is.
42.
Is it 42?
Yeah.
Order 42?
Uh-huh.
And she's like, "Are you sure?"
Protocol 42.
Are you sure? And he's like, "Yes." Wipe her memory. Wipe all their memories.
Yeah.
So he wiped all the memories of everybody who worked in the TVA in regards to the multiverse war, what was going on, everything. Didn't know him, and this is probably when he imposed the timekeepers and created them as the heads of the TVA and kind of hid himself out there at the end of time. But she was not happy, and she's like, I fought in the multiverse war. She's like, you didn't just fight in the multiverse war, you led the army. She was totally, she was totally, Miss Minutes was telling her how important she was. But she's pissed, she's like, okay, we need to come up with a plan and take, she's like, we probably, Miss Minutes said this, we don't need him, and we probably never did.
Yeah.
So she's trying to convince Renslayer that the two of them can do this on their own, right? But we see Victor Timely back at the TVA. He had obviously been brought back there to help them fix the loom. Great scene with Timely and Mobius and Loki and Obi. And we learned something incredibly interesting, and this is kind of like one of those time paradox things,
right? That,
Timely was so incredibly overjoyed to meet, Obi, and he's like, "Oh my God, you're the author of this amazing book."
Yeah.
And Obi was like, "Oh my, all of my technology was based on things I learned from a 19th century inventor, Victor Timely." And so you find out that one inspired the other, who inspired the other, who inspired, so it was like this
bizarre,
right? It was crazy, and Mobius said that. So wait a minute, your work is based on his work, who's based on your work. It was
very confusing.
And they were all like, "Okay, this is just way too much."
Yeah, it's too much, man. Way too confusing. I don't think they should have gone down that route, but
Did you see the? Obi brings out a model. He's like, I made a model of the loom. He says, it's not to scale, and I only had time for one coat of paint. Did you see the reference to Back to the Future there?
Yeah, it was hilarious.
Yeah, that was hysterical.
His little thing where the loom was
and
where
perfect.
The launching thing and how the little figure to run.
But I mean, the thing was like perfect.
Yeah, it was perfect.
And Mobius like, don't be so hard on yourself. It's perfect, but it was a callback to Back to the Future.
Yeah, exactly.
When
Dr.
Brown had created the model of downtown. He's like, I didn't have time for paint, and then he was, and Marty's like, oh my God, it's like amazing, but yeah, so they basically walk through what they need to do. They need to get this device into and launch it into the loom, which will expand its capacity to handle more threads of time. But they're saying we're not sure if it's going to work. And that's when we learn that the thing that Victor Timely had created, as a matter of fact, was something that would enhance this expansion module that Obi had built.
Right.
And so it was exactly what they needed to fix it. Right.
Unbelievable. That's so great. And then we find out that Miss Minutes and Renslayer come back to the TVA, and kind of confront the people that are being held.
Yeah, General Vox
and
they're like, we need some help. We need to put together our own army.
They're trying to solicit their help.
They're like, we need to take over the TV. We need to restore order to the TVA. And she basically offers Vox and all the people that were with Vox, including Brad, hey, if you help us out, we will reinsert you into the timeline, and you can live your own life in the timeline if you help us out.
To him,
and he was like, that sounds great to me. And Vox actually looks at him and says, was your life that great? The life you created for yourself in the time, was it that great? And he's kind of like, it was pretty good, But then we see Miss Minutes basically kill using the cube, the time cube.
That's a brutal scene.
Oh, just squish.
And Miss Minutes was actually enjoying it.
Oh yeah,
yeah, brutal scene.
Yeah,
not the worst scene in the MCU, but that was pretty torture, brutal. That was up there, man.
Yeah, it was. So they killed everybody except for Brad. Brad agrees to join them, and Brad kidnaps Timely. Timely goes back to the conference room with Renslayer and Miss Minutes, and they're trying to get him to tell them what the plan is and what needs to be done and all this other stuff, and he's delaying time. And and we do see the scene, important, we do see the scene of Loki in the TVA when he was hopping back and forth between time
slipping,
and we see the phone ringing and how
he sees himself at the elevator from earlier, and he prunes himself.
He knows that's what that's the time that he has to prune himself, right? So who was it? Obi was the one on the phone, which was another revelation.
Where are you guys? Are you coming?
You're taking way too long.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, Miss Minutes and Renslayer are back and they're causing problems. They're like, well, I could probably take Miss Minutes out of commission by turning off, rebooting the system, but that would turn off all the controls that prevent people from using magic in the TVA. And they're like, do it! So, yeah, really. And they use Brad to kind of get in, and Brad prunes Renslayer, which was a big thing. And they reset and reboot the computer system, which takes Miss Minutes out of commission.
Right.
And then Victor Timely can go help.
Right. Good scene. That was a great scene.
Yeah, really good. And we go to the loom now, and they're trying to still open the blast doors. Victor Timely's temporal aura is used to open the blast doors. And they're like, okay, now somebody needs to take this down to the end of the platform and shoot it into the loom, and that'll save everybody. And Timely basically volunteers. He says, it has to be me.
Yeah. If something goes wrong mechanically, I'm the only one that can fix it.
Right. He goes, this has to be me.
Time to be brave.
Yep. He puts the big suit on. He gets everything ready, and they open the doors, and he's like, you got to be really fast. And he literally runs out the door and gets 100% spaghettified immediately.
Shocking. I did not see that coming.
Me either.
It was awesome.
Right.
Not awesome, but it was like a great twist.
Yeah.
And then we see the loom get overloaded and expanding, and then absolutely explodes. And then the last thing you see is this huge temporal light.
Wave of energy.
Yeah. Temporal light coming at the TVA, and Loki's just standing there with his eyes. And it's as it gets brighter and brighter. And he
says, what did I do wrong? Right? He's like, he's not sure what went wrong and what happened.
Yeah.
Now we know this is not the last episode, but that's how the episode ended. It was a massive cliffhanger.
How do you go on from there? I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, so we do see scenes from the trailers for future episodes, so we know something happens to allow them to do this over and retry this and fix what went wrong.
Right.
The question is, how is that possible? Is Loki still not in sync with time, and is he still time slipping? And so he's going to wake up, again somewhere, and oh my God, we're starting over.
Yeah.
We do see scenes with Sylvie in her own reality, and things begin to start unraveling, and realizes, hey, I got to get out of here. Something's going wrong. So something's going to happen to allow them to redo this or retry this and do it better the next time. And again, my whole theory about Loki has been that they're in some massive continuous time loop, and things are happening over and over and over again. Eventually they'll figure it out until they make the right decision the right way, kind of like Lost, right? Where or Groundhog
was
Day.
The 42.
Right.
Protocol 42. That was the Powerball last number.
Last number of the
last
Powerball.
number of the
Right.
lottery ticket. Yeah, 42.
Yeah, and so, or Groundhog Day or whatever it is, you keep reliving the same moment over and over and over again until you fix it or something.
Right.
You do the right thing, and then eventually it works, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, really great episode.
Great episode. My favorite episode.
Yeah, and I
can't wait to see what happens.
I do think the next 2 episodes are going to be really, really, really great. And getting through this season, we know that Marvel's put a lot of stake in not only Loki, the character, this series, how it fits into what's going on in the multiverse saga with Deadpool 3.
Yeah.
We know they're going to be involved in Deadpool 3. We know they're probably going to be involved to some extent in Kang Dynasty movie or something. We know Kang's involved at some point in time. So yeah, whatever happens, this is going to be a banger. I think in the end of this, we're going to say, oh my God, this is like kind of crazy.
It's going to be Jonathan Major.
There we go. All right, so we'll do our review of the next episode next week. That'll be great.
Excellent.
All right,
I'm not usually a big fan of cliffhangers, but that was good.
When they're like that, where they're so shocking and so surprising, not a big deal, especially when you know that obviously that's not how it ends.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
If it was like, okay, that's how it ends, no.
Yeah.
That would suck.
Yes.
As a season finale.
Absolutely. That's why I'm saying I'm not a big fan of cliffhangers, but this one I did not mind.
Like some television shows, episodic television shows, have done things like that as season finales.
Yeah. And
you got to wait like 6 months for the next season, and you're like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like that's how you're going to end this season?
Unreal.
Yeah. All right, let's jump into some news. A few things this week we wanted to talk about. You sent me a text yesterday that gave us hope that the actors' strike may have finally come to an end.
Hollywood insiders are saying there's some movement, and it's just some formalities tying up some loose ends. So we'll see. Nothing definite yet. Nothing has come out as saying that it's close or anything like that. Just there's some rumors that something has gotten done, and they're just signing, dotting the I's and crossing the T's. So more to come on Monday, hopefully, when they get back into the room, but we'll see.
I think it's been too long, and I think both sides at this point in time believe it's been too long, which is why I think they've really tried very hard to come to some kind of agreement.
Yeah.
They need to get the actors back to work. The studios obviously want to get their projects back in order.
Yeah.
There's been some pretty broad spread repercussions of this strike on the industry, both television and movies. And we're going to be feeling these for the next couple of years.
Yeah.
A lot of these projects have been delayed. We spoke last week about Deadpool 3 being delayed. Again, no official announcement from Marvel about a new date, but it's been pulled from the schedule completely at this point in time, so we don't have a date at all. We have heard that Captain America 4 is going to slide back into the May date, but that's only if the strike ends and if they're able to do their reshoots and get back on schedule. It's a high possibility it may slip to a later date, maybe sometime later in the summer in August. There's no way the Thunderbolts movie gets made in time to make their December release date that they have on the schedule right now. So, we're going to be feeling this in our industry, in the comic book media industry, for a long time. And for us to go from the Marvels movie in a week and a half to no movie for now 8 months is going to be really, really a big blow to Marvel.
The impact across the industry is going to be huge. Think about the movie theaters. Not a lot.
It won't be as bad as COVID was, but it'll be bad. A lot of these now. There are enough. I think there are a number of projects in the hopper right now that have already been delayed, like Kraven, like Dune, like others that chose to push out their release dates because they need the actors that are part of their projects to help promote those projects. We know Kraven needed some reshoots, and that's one of the reasons why they got delayed. They weren't able to come back and do their reshoots. But we know there's projects waiting to be released for this strike to be over just so they can release these projects. So right now, I think now is the worst time.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? I mean, I'm surprised right now that like a movie like The Marvels is coming out, and you know, I think Marvel's like, look, it's done. You know, let's just do it.
Right.
But there's another news item we have here. Aquaman was pushed back another week, right? So
was it a week or a couple of days? Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so it went to December 22nd.
Yeah.
So I think it was the 17th originally or something like that. So it's now the couple days before Christmas, right?
Yeah.
So like the Wednesday before Christmas.
Yeah.
So
and I think they did that. Warner Brothers did that, I think, to give Wonka, that movie, the Wonka movie.
Is that their movie?
It is their movie.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That would make sense. They want Wonka to have another week in the theater on its own type of thing. Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. But, you know, look, we're going to see some stuff coming out, but a lot of the things we're looking forward to are just going to, you know, have to wait. You know, the movies that were in production, post-production, which means they had some reshoots to do or had to film some more scenes, or even the ones that were in pre-production. I think the ones that were in pre-production have gotten back on track with the writers back at work, but they can't start filming yet. Like, you know, we knew that Blade was going to start filming this fall in Atlanta, and they had to suspend filming for that movie because they're like, well, the actors can't come to work, so we can't start filming, right? And
a lot has been put on hold, but, you know, moving forward, sir.
Yeah, we're moving forward. What was the other, if I can read.
Jonathan Majors.
Oh, yeah. So you asked last week about, has there been an update in the Jonathan Majors case? Look, this is still ongoing, and both sides are now kind of doing a lot of pre-trial preparation and so Jonathan Majors and his team have been accused by the district attorney of New York City by swaying the media, by releasing things to the media to try to sway public opinion, which we know they did.
Yeah.
Like his whole entire legal team was saying, hey, once all the evidence becomes clear, you know, our guy will be exonerated. And then all of a sudden on TMZ, like, you know, there's a scene of his victim, a supposed victim, traipsing through the clubs that evening. You know, all the video footage is all of a sudden on TMZ. Well, where did that come from? Right. So the district attorney for New York was accusing his team of doing things, you know, outside of the court of law, which they should not be doing. And they also said there is a court case from London from back in 2020, I believe, 2021, where there was another abuse accusal from the same person in London prior to this last one. Yeah. So they're trying to get that court case. Well, here's another thing that just happened. She was just arrested and charged with, you know, kind of like a countersuit type of charge. So she was brought up on charges too, basically whether it's making false claims or, you know, extenuating circumstance or whatever. So she's been, you know, brought
I know
up.
exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Their team had her arrested because they accused her of abuse.
Right.
And when
so they're
that
claiming
happens,
abuse.
They're claiming abuse. So when that happens, you have to act. So legally, they had to process her and book her. She didn't get arrested. They didn't hold her overnight.
And that has been Major's claim all along.
Understand.
Right.
But note this, that the prosecutor said that based on this is a formality. We are not going to prosecute her or
press charges.
Or press charges in any way. This is a formality that we had to
Once
arrest
there's a claim of abuse, you have to arrest them.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to arrest them officially. Yeah. So,
and his whole team that tried to get this thrown out of court submitted all this evidence and document, and the judge looked at it from both sides and said, nope, we're going to go to trial.
Yeah.
This isn't...
well, he had claimed from the beginning that she was the one who was abusing him, and he was just trying to get away from her.
Right.
And, you know, that was his claim from the beginning. But, you know, look, this is going to play itself out. It's a show. I mean, it's a complete show.
Oh, I'm bringing popcorn.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
That's what you said. I think it was your reply. I'm bringing popcorn. That's right. That's what I'm bringing popcorn. All right. So that's it for the news. Let's jump into our topic of the week. We had it really based on another great news announcement. But first, I want to mention that this is brought to us by our friends over at Studio GG Studios. Home of the man band Corn on the Cob.
I Roll Dice. That's the new hit. Check it out. Go to Studio GG Studios YouTube page and check out the new hit.
I Roll Dice.
I Roll Dice.
Oh boy. I don't know what that means.
It is.
I don't know if I want to know what that means. All right, thanks, Studio G. Really appreciate it. But we had some really, I'll say, encouraging news this week. We talked about this a couple weeks ago on the SuperTalk Podcast. Marvel is 100% revamping the way that they're doing their Disney Plus television shows. They realized building and making television series on Disney Plus the way they made movies was not working. It was not working financially. It was not working from an audience reception perspective. It wasn't connecting with the viewers. We need to redo this. All start over from scratch. And you and I talked about this a couple weeks ago. We're like, we've got some really good ideas here. They should probably just hire some of the people that have done this before.
Right.
And here's what happened. So we know that a couple weeks ago, Marvel basically pulled the plug on Daredevil Born Again and said, we are starting over. Kevin Feige had a chance to view the first, I think it was 8 to 10 hours of film that they had made on the episode, and he was not happy.
Trashed it.
With the way it was going and what they had done. He's like, this is not good.
No.
He says,
same old.
Most of this, not all of it, most of this will be scrapped.
Yeah.
They'll keep some of it, I'm sure. And he said, we're starting over. We're redoing the way that we do television programs here. And so they made a decision. We need to bring some people in that know what the F they're doing. And I tell you what, they hit a banger here, and I'm really happy about this. So first, they hired Dario Scardappa.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Scardapani?
Yep.
Scardapani. Dario Scardapani. So he is now the showrunner for Daredevil Born Again.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah.
You hire a showrunner to run production for a television series. Like every other network does in freaking America.
Not just a showrunner.
No, let me tell you who
a proven showrunner that did the
Punisher.
The Punisher series on Netflix, which was awesome.
Yeah, so he originally was the showrunner for the Punisher series on Netflix. He also did Tom Clancy's show on Amazon Prime.
Oh.
The one with John Krasinski.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so Jack Ryan. So he did the Jack Ryan show on Amazon Prime.
That show's awesome.
Two proven.
Yeah.
See, we've talked about them before. If you never watched the Punisher series on Netflix, they're brutal, they're violent, they're awesome.
Yeah.
Okay? If you like the Punisher character, go watch them because they're amazing. Well, now the showrunner from that series is now running Daredevil Born Again.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Not only you bring somebody who has familiarity with the content and the characters, because we know Punisher is going to be part of Daredevil Born Again, right?
Yeah.
So has familiarity with the content and the characters, knows Marvel, likes these characters, but has been successful at doing this before.
Excellent.
Right?
Yeah.
So
great call. Let's fucking go. This is just it couldn't be better news. And I'm hoping, I'm hoping that this is a sign of things to come. I'm hoping that it is a step in the right direction for Marvel, not for Disney. It's going to take a lot for Disney to get their shit together, but for Marvel, I hope it's in a step in the right direction, completely ignoring a fan base that has been wanting certain things in their television shows, in their movies, and then all of a sudden we get bullshit. We get these ancillary characters.
Secret Invasion.
These four.
A Secret Invasion series.
I will go to my grave saying Secret Invasion was great until the end, until they made choices that did not make sense. Secret Invasion was a great spy thriller and a great storyline until it wasn't. That last episode and that whole thing, it went south and it ruined it. Kind of like the end credit scenes of Morbius. Morbius isn't a bad movie. It's not great, but it's not a bad movie. But those end credit scenes, the taste it left in your mouth,
oh my God.
What the fuck was
We've talked about that at length.
It was awful.
I would have rather watched the movie without the end credit scene because I would have felt better about it.
You know what? I saw that, I think, before you did. I should have said, don't watch the end credit scenes. Leave before the end credit
scenes. And then
scenes.
go home and watch it on YouTube or something right before we do the show.
Tell me what you think of that movie without watching the end
That would
credit
have been
Yeah, but once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Oh, you can't unsee it. You can't unsee that stuff.
And they've hired a couple more people for this, right?
Yeah, the other two people they brought on board, which also massive home run, Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead. These two individuals directed the episodes of Moon Knight as well as Loki Season 2.
Yeah.
Guess who's directing every remaining episode for Daredevil Born Again? These two guys.
Yeah.
So guys that have proven they know what they're doing. You and I, to this date, said we loved Moon Knight. Moon Knight was awesome.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. So happy that character was brought to the MCU. So happy we saw it on Disney Plus. Really well done.
Yeah.
Really. Oscar Isaac should have won an Emmy for his work on that show.
Unbelievable, yeah.
It was amazing. But the way that they took us through each one of those episodes, built the characters individually, and then made us explain more about those characters as we went on and give us more about what's going on. That was great. And the way they ran that was fake. Yeah. These two guys are directing all of the remaining episodes for Daredevil Born Again.
Yeah.
So you brought on a proven showrunner and now 2 proven directors to direct the remaining episodes for this series.
Awesome.
I am so now happy and encouraged about. And look, we said this. God, we have some great ideas on this show. I don't know why.
Are you sure?
I don't know why
maybe
we're not.
It's just me and you that think we have. Great ideas.
Maybe more people are listening to this show than we know.
Maybe.
And maybe some of these things actually occur because they've heard our ideas.
You mean one of the 3 people actually has a line into Marvel?
Who knows? But it is kind of odd that we basically said, why don't you hire the showrunners from the Netflix series?
Yeah.
We said that.
Yeah.
Hire the showrunners from the Netflix series for Daredevil Born Again.
Yeah.
They know the actors. They know the content. They know the characters. They know how to make these shows.
More importantly, they know the tone that the audience wants in that production. They know the tone, the feel, the look. They know how to make those steps happen so that we get to the whole story.
And they have... Here's the thing that a showrunner does. Is not only they have really good ideas and they want those ideas to manifest themselves on the screen, but they're the check and balance. When something's not going right or it seems awry or wait a minute, we can't do that yet because we haven't set this other thing up yet. Right? They're the ones that are there saying, no,
that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, slow down.
Yeah.
This is not what the audience wants.
They keep the writers in check.
Wait, you mean he's not in his costume for 6 episodes? Nobody's going to like that.
Well, I'm a writer, and I didn't have my episode looked at. Why don't I get my episode? Oh, sorry. Yep, your episode's next. We're going to put that in there. The showrunner will say, your episode sucks. You need to rewrite it. Here's the tone we're going for. Or, your episode doesn't make sense right now. We're going to put it at the end, so relax.
Right.
That's what a showrunner does.
Again, one of the best showrunners... in my opinion, in recent, I'll say, comic book media history is Greg Berlanti. So Greg Berlanti was the showrunner for Arrow, The Flash, right? Legends of Tomorrow. He ran that entire set of content.
Arrowverse,
The entire Arrowverse. He was the showrunner for those shows. And, look, I'll say Arrow was really well done across the board. Flash may have gone a little bit too far and a little bit too long. Maybe made 2 seasons too many, but early on that show was amazing.
Oh yeah, no question.
And Greg Berlanti was responsible for how are we going to make people fall in love with this character? What villains are we going to bring onto the show to make people care about this character? What team are we going to put around this character to make the team something that the people care about? And the showrunner does all that. I'm so excited for this news. And look, you and I love Charlie Cox. We love what he did with the Daredevil character. We're so happy he's back.
Yeah.
Because he did such a great job on Netflix. Those 3 seasons, I'll put them up against any content out there, episodic content for superhero characters that has ever been created. We want to put it up against Doom Patrol, Titans, whatever, any of this stuff.
Yeah,
I'll put Daredevil, the 3 seasons of Daredevil, up there with anything.
Yeah, I agree.
Some of the other ones, like, the whole, team up stuff that they did and a lot of the other things.
The Defenders.
The Defenders, is a little wonky.
Don't get me started.
Yeah, but Daredevil the 3 seasons were amazing. And Charlie Cox was amazing. Yeah. And I really do believe this guy and these directors can bring this series home and give the people who watch this stuff what they want.
Exactly. And that's what it is all about, Professor. Great.
Yeah.
Great show, Professor. Happy Halloween, everybody. Thank you for watching the Halloween episode. We really appreciate it. Hey, what's that? There's a scream. Nope, it's a bell. School's over.
All right, well, that's it for us this week. We'll be back next week for more Super Talk. To get in touch with us on social media, hit us up via email, supertalkpodcast@outlook.com or at supertalkpod on Twitter. Until then, stay super, everyone.
And we're out.
Good timing.
Spooky.
I think I did a similar intro last year, too. I don't know. I have to remember my Halloween intro.
That's a great voice. You got a great...
Corn on the cob, the man. Black Viper. Everyone likes this game. Haters gonna hate. And I know you can't wait to see the Black Viper. Round and round she goes. Hardly no one knows. In her black pantyhose. Black Viper.